How's it going, everybody? My name is Warner Fields with Fields of Profit, and today I'm joined by my friend Michael, who is actually one of our students from the FBA roadmap, and he's been crushing it on Amazon lately. So I brought him on to kind of get a little bit of a unique perspective, kind of where he came from, how he was able to find success on Amazon. But if you kind of want to just take a quick second, kind of introduce yourself, let them know kind of where you're at in your Amazon journey right now, we can kind of roll from there.
Sounds good. So I'm Michael. I sell on Amazon, obviously, only OA. Haven't tried RA, hopefully getting into wholesale at some point, but it's kind of more distant in the future on my to-do list at least. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So what kind of numbers are you doing a month right now?
So right now I'm at, well, as of today, I think it's 118 in the last 30 days. End of July I did 129, but I've been kind of bouncing back and forth between 115 and 130. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. That's pretty much right where I am at. So it's cool to see you guys and figure it out so quick. Yeah, that's interesting. We can get into that as well, kind of how we can both go from here. But just to kind of like get a little bit of background, like how'd you get into Amazon? How'd you end up selling on Amazon? Kind of how long have you been at it?
So coming up in spring 2023, I'll actually have been in business for 10 years, but business at scale, probably only a year or so. Basically, I started customizing shoes in 8th grade, and then that was a business on its own. It kind of took off there, got a lot of business recognition through that. College started, tried starting a clothing brand. That didn't work. Pretty much tried it all, to be honest. Failed at most of it. Yeah, then I want to say right before the pandemic started, I started selling on Etsy, something related to shoes or custom shoes, and made a lot of money off of that really quickly, but also got banned within like 6 months or so over copyright issues, which I was aware of. So then basically I took the sum that I made from that and threw that into reselling shoes, because I'd always kind of done that off and on as I was customizing shoes just on the side, because I'd made some connections here and there with sneaker shops. This was way back in like 2014, 2015, before reselling got really big. Back when it was easier to kind of make backdoor connections with shop owners and things like that. So basically I took the money I made with Etsy, threw that into Jordans, Nikes, things like that. Sold those on eBay, StockX, Goat, all of those apps for a while. Even tried botting, lost some money there. Lost a lot of money there. And then basically, I was in a couple sneaker discords, started hearing some of the bigger people within those discords kind of mumble here and there about Amazon. Was kind of like a hush topic that everyone was keeping low. And then one of the other resellers started posting a lot of screenshots of Miles's tweets. I think that's kind of when he was starting to ramp that up as well, beginning of 2021 at this point. So then I kind of got to the point where I kind of just wanted to try it. I was hearing so much about it. I was hearing that's way more scalable. I was tired of pumping money into bots, which just didn't make any sense. There wasn't that much of an ROI on it. So I started Amazon, and then I think that was May 2021 is when I got the account set up. It wasn't until like August or September that I started doing 10,000 per month. And then December was obviously huge. I think that was about 30. January went down, selling off of it, and just taking a loss on a bunch of inventory. And then after that, starting in February, just skyrocketed.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess coming from that world, is that still kind of one of your primary focuses, like the shoes and all that good stuff, or you expand into just anything under the sun?
Big picture speaking, anything under the sun. I have a lot more experience with shoes, so I have a lot more background knowledge there, knowing what sizes sell, what colors sell, what brands sell, things like that. So I've been able to build a big foundation off of that, specifically Nike. But I need to start branching out more. I have been starting to branch out more, and also with all the talks about recession and everything, just like you mentioned in that video, I kind of need to get more into day-to-day essential goods. So that's something I've started working on. I just there's so much money to be made within just Nike, but then also Adidas, all the other brands as well. So kind of just sporting equipment in general is probably what I mean. There's so much money to be made there that I'm just trying to make it while I can before I expand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's get really good at something and then use that money to kind of fund the new ventures and stuff. So kind of something that we've been doing is now we've been selling a whole bunch of different stuff for quite a while. So we're going out to those like master distributors and the parent companies and all that good stuff, trying to get those pricing sheets. We're going to reference all that. I'm sure you're going to do a very similar thing once you kind of ramp up into wholesale and all that good stuff. You do that later down the line. That'll pay off big time. So when you're out there like looking for those products, we talk about reverse sourcing, all that good stuff. What kind of sourcing methods are you gravitating towards right now?
Personally, I don't source too much anymore. I have a product researcher for that, but I do still get in the weeds here and there when I come across a store randomly, just want to go through it quickly, or if there's a sale. And like that big Nike sale just now, I've been scouring Nike's website for the last year, so I kind of have a good idea of their patterns in terms of when they come in and out of stock on certain products, and even their pricing patterns and things like that. So primarily reverse sourcing. There's just so many competitors to find, and you obviously find yourself coming across a bunch of the same competitors, but also new ones, especially as you branch out into other brands. And I've just found so much gold there that there's, I just keep repeating the process, and there's always something there.
Right. There's a million different ways to find products, and there's a million different categories that are super profitable. And like, we're talking about selling shoes and clothing and stuff like that. There's other people out there who are also doing doing 100, 200K a month and they've never even touched shoes or clothing. Like there's so many avenues you can take to really find success. And you also mentioned you've got someone sourcing products for you. Is that one person? Like what's your team look like right now?
Yeah, so right now I have one product researcher. I had a second VA who was doing kind of admin stuff for about a month, but basically that didn't work out. And trying to start hiring again soon. I've kind of been saying that for the last month and a half or so. But basically the challenge that I've had since the beginning of July, end of June, is adjusting to the new scale because processes and ways I do things previously, or, I did a lot of it manually. And now that I'm at such a large scale, it's just not feasible to do. There's just not enough time in the day, whether it's me or someone else. So before I start hiring someone else to help with admin work or more product research, I spent most of July kind of wrapping it up now, just solidifying processes, reformatting a bunch of old spreadsheets and things like that. But yeah, I don't know if I'll need another product researcher or not. Mine's been doing a great job covering a lot of different stores and finding good products. So I'm not sure that I want to add someone else to that team yet, but I am going to add someone else at least to do some like bookkeeping type work.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's awesome that you're able to generate that much in sales off just one VA. So clearly they're doing their job really well. And yeah, I'd say I'm at a similar point in my business, like, in terms of sales and like kind of the bottleneck is me, right? And I think you're kind of hitting on that. You realize that you're the bottleneck. So it's about building those systems. And like this week, I've been diving in, like making some custom spreadsheets, all that kind of stuff. Because as you scale more and more, probably what's holding us both back is like being on top of those restocks and those repricing when you have hundreds of units is way harder than it used to be back at 50 or 100. Or is that kind of the things you're trying to automate, like trying to call attention to certain, restocks and repricing? Is that what you're kind of looking at right now?
Yeah, that's kind of basically everything you just said perfectly describes exactly what I'm dealing with right now. Like in July alone, I'd say probably 80 to 90% of what I bought was just replenishing ASINs that I'm already selling. I have other products that I can buy, but there's just so many good offers on them that I had to stock up. And I've kind of been, it's either you or someone else mentioned, once you have more capital, starting to buy a month's worth of inventory or, a good amount of 2 to 4 weeks worth of inventory instead of, just smaller orders here and there. So yeah, kind of just that. And then also I've been readjusting the spreadsheets or creating new ones. Like you said, I have this method that might be overcomplicating things, probably am overcomplicating things, but there's Inventory Lab and other apps that kind of give you your profit and loss and track cost of goods sold and things like that. But my method of tracking each individual sale, I keep an eye on everything, even when it's stuck in pending still. Obviously those sales could drop off, but it gives me a good idea of kind of the velocity of what they're selling at and whether or not to restock. So basically, I have an average typical sales spreadsheet, lines for each item, etc., buy cost, date sold, all of that. But I've been kind of adjusting it to include order IDs and SKUs and all of that. So basically the future admin VA, right now it's been my product researcher that's been helping me answer a bunch of the backlog data for January through July to basically just manage all the information through there.
Yeah, so just trying to build out those systems so that you can say, hey, VA, here's this spreadsheet, here's what we need to restock on, like based on what's pending, getting a bunch of orders on recently, because there's so much value in that old data that we have. A lot of you guys at home, you've got a bunch of leads on a spreadsheet and those sales are rolling back around and you're not looking at those old sheets. So like that is just one super easy example of why you should be constantly referencing that old data and looking through that, making sure it's all recorded very nicely on those sheets. You can use that for some really powerful business insights later down the line. Yeah, so I know we got a little bit high level there, but just to kind of wrap us up, if you, for that guy who's sitting at home, that guy or girl, they've sold, maybe they're about to make their first sale, they're thinking about starting an Amazon business, they got $1,000 in sales. What would you have to say to that person who's just getting started?
Honestly, for me, I don't regret too much that I've done. It's worked out pretty well so far, but the one thing that I do wish I'd learned sooner or had done sooner was just taking the time to learn Keepa, learn SellerAmp, learn whatever software it is you're using. There's so many great ones out there, but actually learn it and understand it, not just on a surface level, but on a deeper level. Because for the first, from May through December 2021, I was just doing, I'm not going to get into it, but a very stupid method of combining Jungle Scout with Keepa, but not even using Keepa for the graphs, just to see the offer. The like stock levels of competitors.
Oh, that's
it
funny.
Worked out. But if I had taken the time, like I had the Keepa subscription for at least 3 months. So if I had taken the time to actually learn it, I could have been making better and more informed decisions. And as soon as I did take the time to do that, everything just started clicking more, going even smoother. So basically get the proof of concept that this is something you want to do and kind of learn the ins and outs and the basics at a smaller scale. But then once you have that proof of concept and, I've decided, okay, this is something I want to do big picture, whether it's part-time or full-time, then start getting deep into the software and tools that you're using.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. There's so many, like a lot of beginners, they'll use like way too expensive tools or they have the correct tools and they're looking at the wrong stuff. So I like that. Yeah. Dig in with Keepa, dig in with SellerAmp, just get the super simple stuff to start. And then add on like the, the Jungle Scouts or whatever the expensive softwares that you wanted to add on later down the line, you'll be very nicely set up if you have that baseline with those kind of fundamental tools, right? So yeah, so I hope you guys got a ton of value out of this video. If you want to check out the FBA roadmap, the guide that Michael and tons of other guys are using to crush it on Amazon, the link is down below for that. Feel free to leave any questions, anything like that you guys have down below. Always happy to answer that. Hit that subscribe button. That helps me out with the algorithm as well. But I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.